Have you ever looked at a guy and thought, he doesn't even care if I'm around? Only to catch him staring when he thinks you're not paying attention. Let me tell you something that might completely change the way you see him. Some men don't openly show their obsession with you. They keep it hidden. And they're very, very skilled at doing that. One of the biggest myths in dating is the belief that if a man wants you, you'll know. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the men who seem the coldest are actually the ones feeling the strongest emotions underneath. So why does he seem distant? Why does he ignore your stories, look unbothered by your silence, and act like you're just another girl on his feed? Here's the real reason. He's obsessed, but he's scared to show it. That's right, he doesn't want you to see how much your presence affects him, how your energy pulls him in. So he hides behind mixed signals, delayed responses, and that annoying too cool to care attitude. But here's the thing, his actions are exposing him. And in this video, I'm going to reveal every sign he's secretly obsessed with you, even if he's pretending not to be interested at all, because once you realize what he's actually hiding, you take back your power. So, grab your coffee, stay with me, and by the time we're done, you won't be asking whether he's obsessed. You'll start seeing the signs he can't hide anymore. Let's talk about one of the most confusing things in dating. He shows interest, there's a spark, and then out of nowhere he pulls away. He becomes distant, distracted, even cold. And you start asking yourself, was I just imagining everything? But here's something you need to know. When a guy pretends not to care, it often has nothing to do with you and everything to do with what's going on inside him. Many men grow up being told that showing emotions is weak. From childhood, they hear things like man up, don't cry, don't show emotion. They're taught to bury their feelings, especially around women, and never show emotional attachment. So when he starts to catch real feelings, when he feels excitement, desire, even fear of losing you, his first reaction isn't to open up. It's to close off, to back away, to pretend like nothing's going on, but don't fall for the act. His quietness, his detached vibe, that fake chill. It's a cover. It's a way of protecting himself, because if he admits that he truly cares, then he opens himself up to being rejected, to losing control, to getting hurt. And for a man who hasn't learned to deal with his emotions, that's terrifying. And then there's his ego. A man who's used to attention, maybe he's attractive, successful, or just confident, might expect women to chase him. So when you don't, when you show him you have your own life, your own standards, your own pace, that's exactly when he starts feeling something. But he won't show it immediately. Why? Because admitting he wants you means admitting you have influence over him. And that's something many men find hard to accept. On the other hand, some men pretend not to care simply because they don't know how to handle intense feelings. When he meets someone who triggers something deep inside, something that feels real, it can overwhelm him. He might not have the tools or maturity to deal with those emotions. So instead of leaning in, he shuts down. So if you're dealing with a guy who's giving you mixed signals, don't rush to assume he's not into you. It might be just the opposite. He could be battling feelings he doesn't know how to talk about. And instead of reacting, you need to observe. Because when you stop chasing explanations, his behavior starts revealing the truth. And most of the time, it's not that he doesn't care, it's that he cares far more than he's willing to admit. When a man is secretly obsessed, he won't usually come out and tell you. It shows up in quiet ways, little things you'll only notice if you're really paying attention. And once you know what to watch for, those small signs become impossible to ignore. One of the first clues is that he remembers the little random things you say. You might mention your favorite drink or talk about how stressful your Tuesday meeting was, and he'll bring it up days later, like it just crossed his mind. That's not an accident. He's storing these details because you're on his mind more than he'll admit. Another subtle sign? He starts appearing in places you're in, but acts like it's just coincidence. You'll notice he's at the same event, hangs around the same coffee shop you posted about, or suddenly shows up in a group chat you're part of. He's not stalking you, but he's circling you. He wants to be near you without making it obvious. He's pulled towards your energy, but his pride won't let him fully enter your space. Now let's talk about his online behavior. He might not hit the like button on your posts. In fact, he might avoid it on purpose to seem indifferent. But then you notice he watches every story you post within minutes. Or he's rewatching your reels and TikToks multiple times. This silent attention is one of the clearest signs of low-key obsession. He wants to stay connected, but doesn't want you to notice. Watch his body language too. When he's around you, does he angle his body toward yours? Do his feet point in your direction? Does he copy your movements or use phrases you say? These are subconscious signs. Even if he tries to act neutral, his body tells the truth before his mind can hide it. Another big clue. He brings you up in conversations without really trying. He'll ask friends about you, mention something you said in a casual group convo, or recall a small detail you shared. If your name keeps popping up, you're definitely on his mind more than you think. Jealousy's another one. He may never say it out loud, but you'll feel the shift when other guys are around you. His mood changes. He gets quiet or throws in a sarcastic comment. He might pretend he's not paying attention, but his energy gives him away. What makes all these signs so subtle is that they're not meant to be noticed. He's doing everything to keep it hidden. But obsession always finds a way out. It slips through in looks, pauses, body language, those small things he can't control no matter how hard he tries. You can ignore what he says all day, but watch how he acts. When a guy's obsessed, his mouth might stay quiet, but his body is loud. Let's go deeper into how the body gives it away. When a man is secretly obsessed, he might be able to keep it out of his words or his tone, but not out of his body. That's where the truth leaks out. It starts with his eyes. If he's into you, he'll look at you when he thinks you're not looking, and the second your eyes meet, he'll glance away quickly, maybe look down or pretend to check his phone. That's not shyness, it's him getting caught. Obsession doesn't announce itself loudly, it sneaks in. It shows up in those quick glances and quiet moments. If you see him looking from across the room, only to pretend he wasn't, that's your clue. Now think about how he acts in a group. Does he face toward you even if he's talking to someone else? Do his shoulders lean your way? Does he shift closer when you speak? Even when it's not about him, these are unconscious moves, showing he wants to be near you. His body is drawn to yours before he even knows it. Mirroring is another huge sign. If you cross your legs, he does too. You fix your hair and suddenly he's adjusting his shirt or touching his neck. People don't do this on purpose. It's a deep psychological reaction that shows connection. When someone mirrors your actions, they're in tune with your presence. And if he does it often, even during short interactions, he's thinking about you more than you know. Now let's talk about how close he gets. A guy who's secretly obsessed will look for excuses to be nearby. He might not touch you directly, but he'll stand a little closer, sit just within your space, or walk beside you even when he doesn't have to. It's small, but it's intentional. He wants to be close, even if he doesn't admit it. You might also notice him acting fidgety, tapping his fingers, adjusting his clothes, fixing his hair. Those aren't signs of boredom, they're nervous energy. His body is reacting to being around someone who affects him. He's trying to stay calm, but his body's giving him away. And don't forget the accidental touches. A light brush on your arm, a quick touch on your back as he passes by. He makes it seem casual, but it's not. Even brief physical contact is a sign of someone trying to get just a little bit closer. There's something really honest about how a man acts when he thinks you're not watching. That's when the real truth shows up. When he's not trying to impress or control his reactions, that's when the obsession becomes visible. If he's secretly into you, he's watching from afar more than you think. You might be laughing with friends or just scrolling through your phone and suddenly feel someone looking at you. You glance up and there he is, focused on you, not in a creepy way, but in a thoughtful, absorbed way. The second your eyes meet, he looks away, acts distracted, pretends he wasn't really looking, but he was. When a man is secretly obsessed, he won't always enter your space. Sometimes the feelings keep him at a distance. Maybe he doesn't feel sure enough to step forward. Maybe he doesn't want to risk exposing what he really feels. But he's there, watching, feeling, thinking, quietly, constantly. From a distance, he's gathering information. He's watching how you move, how you interact with people, and how you carry yourself when you think no one is paying attention. You might start to notice that he somehow knows more about you than you've actually told him. He's picked up on your patterns, your habits, your mood shifts, even your routines. He knows when you usually arrive. He knows who you spend the most time with. He notices even the smallest changes in how you look or act. Why? Because obsession leads to observation. He might not bring up your life openly, but he's always keeping watch in the background, like a quiet presence trailing behind your shadow. In group settings, this becomes even clearer. If you're both in the same place, notice how often he positions himself somewhere he can keep you in sight. Even if he never approaches, he could sit anywhere, yet he chooses the spot that lets him see you. That's not coincidence. It's intentional. He wants visual access to you. He wants to track your mood, your laughter, who's getting your attention. There's also the fake distraction trick. He may pretend to be busy on his phone or in conversation, but his real focus is still on you. You laugh, and his eyes dart in your direction. Someone mentions your name, and he subtly leans in to catch what's said. His body might be far, but his attention stays fixed. And the crazy part? He'll do all of this without saying a single word. He doesn't need to speak. He watches because he literally can't help himself. His obsession keeps him mentally tied to you, even at a distance. So if you often catch him looking at you when he thinks you won't notice, it's not random. It's emotional monitoring. Because when a man is quietly obsessed, he doesn't always chase with words. Sometimes he follows you silently, with his eyes, when no one's supposed to be watching. These days, if you want to know how someone truly feels about you, don't only listen to their words, look at their actions, especially online. It's where people show what they're too scared to admit out loud. When a guy is secretly obsessed, his activity on social media gives away the truth, if you know what to look for. Let's start with something subtle but revealing. He watches all your stories, not just sometimes, all of them, even the random ones, even the ones you post just to see who's keeping up. He might not interact or even hit the like button, but he's always there. If he's regularly among the first viewers, or if he watches late at night, or almost instantly after you post, that's not a coincidence. Now let's talk about likes. Some guys will avoid liking your recent posts so they can pretend they're not paying attention. But here's where it gets interesting. He'll suddenly like an old picture, one from months or even years ago. He might say it was a slip, but let's be honest. Nobody ends up that deep in your feed by mistake. That accidental like, that's a digital giveaway. He's been scrolling, looking, lurking, likely catching feelings in the process, and then there's what he doesn't do. A man who's secretly obsessed but pretending he's not will often avoid any obvious interaction. No likes, no comments, nothing public, but you'll still feel his presence. You might notice weird viewer accounts on your stories, names you don't recognize, burner accounts, anonymous pages, maybe even mutual friends of his that you've never spoken to. Believe this. Some men turn into full-time investigators when they're obsessed. If he's not watching from his own profile, he might be doing it through another. Don't overlook the way he uses music, quotes, or trending sounds either. Some guys use playlists, lyrics, or vague captions as emotional messages. He won't tag you, he won't make it obvious, but the meaning is there, coded in the content. It's his indirect way of saying what he doesn't have the courage to say in person. And if he ever deletes something shortly after you view it, like a story, a post, or a cryptic message, it's because he wanted you to see it, then panicked that it was too obvious. That's a mix of anxiety and obsession. He's testing the waters, but afraid to jump in. This type of online behavior is basically the modern-day version of passing secret notes in school, just more hidden. When a guy is obsessed but pretending he's not, the clues won't scream, they'll whisper, they'll hide in his scrolls, his clicks, and his silence. So if you feel like he's watching, trust that instinct. He probably is. And the proof is in the digital breadcrumbs he leaves behind. Just because a guy goes quiet doesn't mean he doesn't care. Actually, silence can be the loudest sign of all. When he stops texting, stops reaching out, or doesn't respond, it's easy to believe he's over it. But what if that quiet space is where his obsession hides? What if his silence is the obsession? The trick is not to chase the silence, but to pay attention to it. Let it speak. Because sometimes a man's quiet is actually him yelling. He just doesn't know how to put the feelings into words. When someone is deeply obsessed, the truth often lives not in what they say, but in what they don't say. The words they almost text, the messages they write and delete, the calls they don't make but wanted to, the moments they think of you but stay frozen in fear. So next time he disappears, don't automatically assume it's over. Ask yourself, is he really pulling away? Or is he overwhelmed by emotions he doesn't know how to express? In love and obsession, silence is rarely empty. It's often full, flowing with the things he can't bring himself to tell you. When you start to realize a man is secretly obsessed but acting like he doesn't care, it's easy to get pulled into emotional chaos. You overthink, you analyze every move. You feel the pull to do something, anything to get a reaction. But here's the truth that most women need to hear. There are certain things you should never do in these moments, because doing them could flip the entire situation in his favor. Obsession survives in silence, but it dies in desperation. If he's hiding how he feels, let him. That's not your weight to carry. Don't step into the role of fixer. Also, don't put yourself in competition. If he's quietly obsessing over you but still giving attention to other women in public, don't stick around hoping he'll choose you. You're not a backup. You're not an option. If he's watching your life but sharing his with someone else, that's not love, it's emotional control. You also shouldn't accept emotional leftovers. Don't settle for small gestures or vague attention just because you're hungry for more. And here's a big one. Don't try to confront him hoping he'll finally admit the truth. Yes, the fantasy of him confessing, "I've been obsessed with you this whole time," sounds beautiful. But most men who hide their emotions do it for a reason. They're not ready to deal with the emotional weight of what they feel. If you push him into that moment, he might shut down or deny it, not because it's untrue, but because he can't handle the exposure. That'll leave you feeling rejected, even though the feelings were real. So, what should you do? Stay calm in your power. Carry yourself with silent confidence. Let his obsession grow on its own while you live fully. Glow up. Attract someone who doesn't hide behind silence, but steps forward with intention. Because the moment you stop responding to his confusion with your clarity, the dynamic changes, and that is where your real strength lies. Now you've noticed the patterns, you've read between the actions, you've felt the intensity in the looks and the online clues. You know he's obsessed. But here's the final and most important piece. It means nothing if you don't know how to protect your position. Obsession on its own isn't. The more you ground yourself, the less his silence, his glances, or his likes will affect your peace. You'll stop asking, "Does he like me?" and start wondering, "Do I really want someone who can't communicate like a grown man?" That question alone changes the whole energy. Let him stay in the background. Let him wonder. While he's stuck obsessing in silence, you step into your light. So here's your final reminder. Don't lose your power by accepting the role of someone's fantasy. Be the standard. Be the woman who doesn't flinch when a man is scared of his emotions. Be the woman who doesn't chase because she's too focused on becoming unforgettable. Because if a man is truly obsessed, he'll either come forward and face it, or risk losing the one thing he can't stop thinking about. That's the bottom line. You've learned how to spot the signs, decode the silence, and protect yourself from the emotional roller coaster that obsession often creates. Now it's your move. Don't chase. Don't prove. Stay rooted in your worth. Let him find the courage to step up if he's capable. Before you go, take a moment. Ask yourself, what's your next move? How will you protect your energy, your time, and your heart now that you know what obsession really looks like? If this spoke to you, share your thoughts. Drop a comment. Have you ever felt this silent obsession from someone? I'd love to hear your story. And always remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you deserve someone who shows up for you completely, not just watches from the sideline. Keep your head high, your standards higher, and your heart safe.